Unemployed and Afraid acknowledges the traditional owners of the land we have recorded this episode on and of the land where you, the listener, are tuning in from. We would like to pay our respects to elders past, present, and extend our respect to any First Nations, Aboriginal, and Torres Strait Islander people joining us today, acknowledging that this always was and always will be Aboriginal land.
Welcome to Unemployed and Afraid, a podcast that explores the messy middle of being out on your own and starting over with the people who've done it. I'm your host, Kim Curtin. Thank you for being here. Let's get into today's story of starting over. Welcome back to today's chat on Unemployed and Afraid. And before we get into it, I wanted to share a little story about how I came to meet this amazing guest. Her name is Ingrid Daniel. She's an incredible artist and the creator of Wow Song Shack, the coveted Tassie short stay that sits on the edge of the Tasman Sea. And I've been following Wow Song Shack on Insta as an admirer for a while, when I realized that the little town that it's in is just down the road from where I had moved to in Tassie. And a few weeks later, Wow Song Shack followed me back on Insta and sent me a DM asking if I'd be interested in creating some special private yoga classes for guests. I legit squealed. I'm not even embarrassed to say that. I mean, there's literally no better spot to practice yoga than Wow Song Shack and the deck that overlooks the ocean. And since then, Ingrid has supported my ceramics work, stocking the Wow Song cabinets full of my unique handmade pieces. And we've gone on to become wonderful friends and collaborators. And I'm telling you this story because when you're making a change and starting over, you literally never know what incredible human experience and connection the next call or DM or email could bring to your world. You've just got to start by putting yourself out there. And one last story from me. To look at the success and accolades for Wow Song, you'd be forgiven for thinking it has been around for a while, but no. The doors were only opened in 2019, and already it's been featured in publications across Australia and the world and has built a community of over 30,000. So if that is not encouragement enough to just get started on whatever is pulling your curiosity, I don't know what is. But if you need a little extra encouragement, then after this episode, search for Unemployed and Afraid on Facebook, where we're building a community of support for our journeys of starting over and trying new things. And I would love to see you there. Okay, let's get into the story of Wow Song Shack creator and incredible artist, Ingrid Daniel. Today's guest is the multi-passionate Ingrid Daniel, who joins us with two inspiring feathers currently in her cap. Ingrid is an incredible artist with exhibitions and gallery representation in her hometown of Geelong in Sydney and New York. Through her painting, she identifies the human and instinctive need to connect to the lands, to the ocean, to a natural environment and the landscape that make up our identity from the past, the present, and the future. In many of her works, Ingrid paints the landscape as an idyllic folktale, redolent of a time and place when humankind had little impact. Through stylized and abstract form and symbolic paint gestures, Ingrid uses color and a mix of textures and sheer to create magical, emotional landscapes. Now that's feather one. For feather two, Ingrid's deep connection to the ocean led her to create one of Australia's most coveted and admired short stays, Wow Song Shack. Positioned on the edge of the Tasman Sea in Falmouth, a tiny town on Tasmania's east coast, Wow Song is simply immersive. It's private, grounding, and connected to every aspect of its raw and beautiful natural environment. It is like nowhere else in the world. There is so much to this inspiring woman's story. It's all that came before now and all that's still to come. Ingrid, welcome to Unemployed and Afraid.
Thank you. Hi, Kim. Very, it's overwhelming hearing all the, hearing it read back to you, what you do. But thank you for that beautiful intro. That's lovely.
Oh, you're so welcome. It's just such a joy to research your work and look at your incredible painting. I cannot wait to own one day and have it on my wall because it's just beautiful. You have an hell of an eye, which in doing my research on you, I'm not surprised about looking at your amazing career story. But before we get into that story, I'll just break the ice just a little bit. Tell me, how would your twin boys describe you?
Well, you asked me that before and I started thinking about it. I think they would call me funny, maybe a little bit silly, a bit of a dag, and possibly organised/bossy.
I love that.
Yeah, I think that's probably was what they might say, but I didn't ask them, so I don't know, and loving, very loving. Not mean bossy, but just like, come on, let's get organised.
And so they would describe you as kind of silly. Do you maybe a few improv dances or funny things in the house go on?
Yeah, totally. And we love comedy. We were always sort of, sharing with each other the latest funny things that we're loving. And they're mates. They've got a beautiful group of friends called, they call themselves Squadron. And they're like a whole group of boys, and they all come over and they call me Ingo. So I don't know if that sort of explains what I am to them. I'm kind of the go-to, mum.
You're like the cool mum. I love that.
It's sort of cool, yeah. Well, I would like to think I'm cool, but maybe they're sort of just going a bit beyond me now and going, yep, right. Don't take me to music festivals anymore, Mum. Let's but still, I reckon if I was at the music festival and they were there, they'd still hang out with me. So, yeah.
I can see that, definitely. Take me way back. Before you were the person that I get to spend this time with today, who were you before the full-time artist and the Wow Song Shack creator?
God, how far back?
As long as you want.
Oh, God. Well, I mean, it's so strange right now. My boys are, they finished VCE last year, and so they're on the cusp of starting uni, and we're going through that massive change of them just about to launch into life. So my mind has been going back to that time where I left school and started uni, and I started doing commerce of all things, which was really, I don't know, I think I just thought, I should just do this course, and I got the marks and I'll go to Melbourne Uni and it'll be fabulous. And I got there and I just absolutely hated it. I just was so on me. And just in light of your podcast, I think that was the first time I did something in my life and realised I don't have to stick with this. I can do whatever I want. I can make a change, and I can just say, I just want to. And I travelled. I did the gap year after that because I just really didn't like it. And when I was travelling, that's when I discovered that I don't know why I didn't want to go into a creative field after school, because all I did was art throughout my whole schooling. But I think possibly that thought of the stress of having to make money, I don't know. So anyway, I came back and I did fashion and did my degree in fashion design and textiles at RMIT. And I really felt like I found who I was. So that started my creative path. And from there, I haven't looked back. I think fashion in a sense is sort of a more commercial creative path. So going down that path, it married that practical side of me, just thinking, I'm young, I need to make money. And I loved fashion, and I got into the surf industry and first started in the snowboarding skate industry and then ended up in the surf industry, which I loved. And I was head designer for Roxy for 4 or 5 years, I think.
What was that like in that career? It would have been very exciting.
It was great. Yeah, it was fantastic. And while I was at the age I was at and the time in my life, it was perfect. I got to travel and work on a girls surf brand, which till then, girls surf brands were not really, that big a deal. Like they were sort of like a side hustle for the major brands like Quiksilver, and board shorts was sort of not really a big thing. Girls didn't, wear board shorts. So it was sort of at the infancy of when board shorts were becoming sort of a staple for girls, which now they've probably gone back to girls don't wear board shorts because they don't need to look like a guy. They're wearing bikinis and rocking their bodies and not trying to, but back in the 90s, that was the thing. So it was a really exciting time and just such a fun brand to work on. I just loved every minute of it.
Are you a surfer?
I was a sort of a fair weather surfer. I'm not a hardcore surfer, and I haven't surfed for a couple of years. So I don't know. I think life just got in the way and my skills at surfing were just not that great. But I just loved the ocean and would always just passionate about being by the coast. So it really played into being able to enjoy working on that brand and understanding the brand and the culture. And all my friends are really good surfers. I'm just not that great. So I
can relate. I'm terrible. I've tried.
I just kind of going to be 51 in a couple of weeks. So I'm just like going, oh, it's okay.
Hey, Kelly Slater is 49.
I know. He's
Just
amazing.
one pipeline.
Oh, and all my friends still surf. Like, I've got my surf friends, and the ones that still surf are great and they have fun. And I'll probably go on a girls' surf trip towards the end of the year for my friend's 50th. So, yeah, maybe I'll paddle out again then. So, yeah.
So that would have been really exciting, being there around the 90s and the noughties in the surf brands. When did you wrap up that job?
Pretty much when I got pregnant with the boys. It was a twin pregnancy. It was a little difficult pathway to get pregnant. We had to go through IVF, and although we were really successful, in our early first round, really, which was incredible, I probably needed not to be in such a high pressure job. And so I did sort of, towards falling pregnant, I took a step down in that position and just worked on the accessory side of things, which, and stopped traveling because I was getting pretty stressed towards the end. I think, when you are going through those things, you sort of got to make space for yourself, and I don't regret that at all. And so, but the pregnancy itself was a little bit difficult, and I ended up leaving work, I think when I was about 3 or 4 months pregnant, just due to complications. So I just wanted to make sure I was okay. I mean, some people can glide through, and I just needed the space to sort of be okay with the pregnancy. But yeah, I was glad when that was over.
Yeah, I bet.
And then, and I guess that's a major life change too. When you have kids, life just changes overnight. It's a busy time. And I did look at going back to work at some point just before, in that sort of when they were young, but it was so intense with the twins. I just found, and the sleep deprivation was horrendous. So I just thought, I didn't really want to go back into a corporate scene. I didn't want to go back into a work where I had to, go into an office and be there on time and put my best self, because I just knew my days was sort of needed to roll a bit more organically. And so I enjoyed being a mum for about 2 years. And then another friend who was a creative who worked at Rip Curl, and we worked together at Quicksilver for a period of time. And then she worked at Rip Curl and left with her child as well. We started tinkering around on a little kids brand because I couldn't stop, being creative. And you do need an outlet. So we created a little brand called Cocoon Couture, which started very small. And with my friend, we ended up getting it to a little place where it had a small sort of niche profile. But then she went overseas to America and could no longer be in the brand. And then I bought on, I sort of cobbled along on my own for a bit, but I sort of soon thought, well, look, I'm not going to do this on my own. If I don't meet another business partner, I'll probably float off and do something else. And then I did meet another person who joined me on the business side of things, but that partnership lasted for about 8 years, 8 or 9 years. And we did grow that little brand into something that was quite sort of special for a period of time. But that was a difficult business partnership. So it was better to sort of leave that. And it took that was I guess, as far as a sort of starting over again experience, that was a really huge learning curve for me. I came out of that just pretty exhausted because I did pour a lot of energy into that brand. And I think if you Google and look at it now, it just doesn't even reflect what I created originally with my first business partner. But I came out of that and I thought, whatever I do next, I will do on my own, and I will do with my husband Cliff. So we will be a team. He had his own business, so we weren't ready to do anything together at this stage, but I just thought it just needs to be me only. So during that time, I started painting for myself and just really exploring. I guess I was walking a lot in the landscape just to cope with the stresses of what I was going through, and I just started sort of working that through on the canvas, and it became a really therapeutic sort of process. But it also became something I realized I needed in my life, and I wanted to keep practicing every day, or, you know, as part of a part of my life. So there's a gallery in Geelong called Boom Gallery, and they were sort of like a contemporary gallery that embraces emerging artists. And I went in one day and was chatting with the one of the directors there, Ren, and he said, "Oh, bring some of your work in. I'd love to see it." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And so I brought in what I'd been working on, and he said, "Oh, why don't we work towards a show?" And I was like, "Oh, really? Oh my God, that would be a dream come true. I would love that." And I had my first solo show, which was in just one of their small gallery spaces. I think it was 2014 that I had my first show, and it was really well received, and just I was just so excited to be able to show my work and share it. So from there, I think I had another exhibition at Boom, and then it's just, I haven't really stopped since then. So the painting's just been such an important part of my life and my practice, being able to sort of communicate where I'm coming from with my work. It's not just a pretty picture. There's a lot of thought that goes in behind that. So, you know, there's a lot of symbolism in my work, which I really enjoy having that. I think I'm an awkward communicator. Like I don't think I'm fantastic at speaking, you know, on a podium or a platform, but I find art is just an amazing way to communicate. And there's that sort of subversive undercurrent to my work, even though it's so aesthetically pleasing and a lot of people are drawn to it. There is that subversive focus on what's going on with climate change and just the destruction that is just going around the world and in our backyards. So yeah, that's been amazing. So
that's an incredible way to think about your work and to talk about it, and to give you confidence. You're on a podium right now doing a fantastic job.
So nerve-wracking. Oh my God.
You're doing a fantastic job speaking about your work. I love hearing about that experience. I can't imagine what that must have felt like, you're working on your painting and then going into a gallery and they say, "Let's do an exhibit." What steps even happens after that? What was your approach? Did you know how to put an exhibit together, or?
Well, I guess in a way I sort of, I did, in that instinctive way of saying, right, well, it's a show, so it's something that I want to produce, and, you know, there's going to be a variety of sizes. I guess when I was originally thinking about it in the practical way, you know, you sort of have different canvas sizes that you want to work with, and in a similar fashion to working on a clothing range, you're putting together a collection, a range, and it's a story. So it was really nice to work without thinking of a commercial product in mind. It was about my story. So I worked out the space, I guess, and just thought, right, well, I'll need this many pieces and I'll hope to achieve that. And and it was really exciting actually to just say, well, I'm going to make this a practice and it's a job. So not a job, but a job, you know, something you be committed to and dedicate time to. So, you know, the time I'm going into the studio is between 9 and 4, and that's my time to sort of either write or paint or draw. And when you've got a deadline, I guess you always go, right, I've got to get this going. So it's a bit of a daze thinking back to that first show, but now I guess I seem to be able to fit a lot more in now, and I think that's also come with confidence and experience with painting. So
of course, the confidence piece is so important, isn't it? I can just speak from the process of discovering a wonderful guest and then recording a podcast and then editing a podcast and uploading it before it's done. The process is so overwhelming, and every decision takes hours.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And now I sort of go, like, now you've got the tools to sort of jump to it a little bit more, sort of understanding of what it's going to take of you to achieve that goal. And so you can sort of carve out time, and you know you can have, you know, a break here, and
How long it's going to take. How did it feel to sell your first painting?
That first exhibition was amazing. I honestly, I was just on a high. I just felt so grateful and just overwhelmed with joy. It was really wonderful. And I still feel that. I do get very nervous leading up to each exhibition. I've got a show coming up next week that opens at Sydney Curatorial & Co. at their Redfern Gallery. And I still get that sort of, oh my God, it's hung. I hope everybody loves it. I hope, it's going to be well received. And but it's also so exciting to see it hanging and in the way that you've sort of visualized it and see it all come together. So I love it.
Exciting. I can imagine. I can see the joy in your eyes as you, of course, we're on video here, so I have the pleasure of seeing you and see how that lights you up, and that's really inspiring.
And it's I think there's a lot of, every show seems to take a lot of time to percolate and it just sort of comes together in the end, and I just it's really nice to see it sort of work in that space. So,
And what is your process like? I'm fascinated to hear, from knowing that you have the deadline to the creation of the work, the subtext. How does that go?
I find that I need a lot of time in the environment. I need space and headspace, if you know what I mean. Like, I just need to, I really draw a lot of inspiration from being in the environment. So depending on where I've been for our holidays, and it often is a holiday that sort of we tend to go away camping or hiking, that those sort of raw, remote places really inspire and inform my work. And also my own backyard, like we live on the surf coast. So most days I'm walking in the bush or on the beach. And I think my work is always comes back to my backyard and our home where we are, but I always bring in other places that we've been. So that's the main start, and I guess I start, but it's not necessarily, it's more experiential. Like I like to experience the place, and then that then informs where I start. And then if I've got an exhibition coming up, I'll do a lot of writing. I'll start sort of thinking about, I guess there's a sort of slight poetic sense to my work, especially the titles are very important, and they also communicate where the piece is coming from and where I'm, what I'm wanting to talk about with the show. So there's a lot of writing, and then I might start just draw, and then I'll be drawing along the way, but the drawing aspect, it sort of comes a bit after the thought processes have sort of formulated, and then I start sort of working out, pulling from my experience to create the show and make it happen. So
and the I don't know if that makes sense. It makes perfect sense, and the work is just beautiful, and the touch on climate change and effects to natural environment that you mentioned as well. And I imagine that you see a lot of that firsthand. I know where I live here on the coast, my partner and I were talking about it just the other day. We've noticed such a change in the ocean, in just the environment, things like exorbitant amount of blue bottles washing up on the beach all of a sudden, which wasn't the case here some time ago. And being around nature makes you so much more aware of those subtle changes that you don't see sometimes. Is that part of your life, being on the surf coast there?
Oh, absolutely. It may, even the spaces I maybe experience are not necessarily as impacted as places like, say, the Tarkine, where the mining is going ahead. Hopefully it can be transformed into a national park. But, I think there's that that's where the symbolism comes in. And I see, like our cliff face where we live on the surf coast is the fastest eroding cliffs in Victoria or Australia. And, we've just had these incredible, massive cliff erosions just recently over summer. There's been a lot of rain. That sort of symbolism, that works into my work and plays into the story and the narrative that I'm working through with my paintings. There is just so much that national parks are just so precious, and they really need to be more of them, and we need more protection of those spaces. I'm just shocked that there's still so much going on in these pristine wilderness, like forests that date back to Gondwanaland. And it's quite shocking, really, when you think about it and you think how much, and the Barrier Reef with the Adani mine. I mean, there's just, you can go on and on and on, but it really is very shocking. So I'm hoping that there's some way my work somehow communicates that by reminding people of what we're losing and that romance we have with nature, that it is so fragile. So
Yeah, it definitely is. I want to take us into, we have Feather One that we've just chatted about, your incredible art career, which is just going to be ongoing and growing and very exciting. And I'm aware of your love of the ocean. I'm hearing about your love of the ocean and landscape in your voice. And you do have the beautiful Wow Song Shack as a short stay that sits over the ocean. When did the seed for this incredible place start to grow?
Oh my God, I still pinch myself. Like, I'm just beyond grateful to have that slice of paradise. And I just absolutely love sharing it as well. Like, it actually brings me so much joy to share that at Whale Song. It feels too precious to just hold on to us, for us, just us. So look, we love Tassie, and we've have another place which we're very lucky to have had that for 18 years in Beaumaris, so on the east coast of Tassie. So we fell in love with Tasmania just before, as the boys were first born. So thought we'll just try and buy a little slice of paradise here. And so we've spent a lot of time on the East Coast, and every time we would go down, we would go into Falmouth and we'd just dream of being there. And it just has a beautiful pool and a beautiful space. And the shacks there are gorgeous. So it wasn't until 2009, towards the end of 2018, that we had the opportunity to actually entertain the thought financially, which is a pretty amazing place to be in when you have that. So that summer we went down to Falmouth and just thought, we'll just have a little look around. There was only one shack on the market, and it was Whale Song, and it had been on the market for a year. So we went and had a look, and the day that we went down there to look at it, I just got these goosebumps all over me. And I said to Cliff, I went, oh my God, this is my dream. I had this amazing dream like months ago about standing on the edge of a reef and this whale I'm just such a dreamer as well. Like, I have a lot of dreams. I wake up and I tell Cliff my dreams every morning and just go, oh my God, I had the weirdest dream. But this dream really stood out. It was so visceral and real. I didn't want to wake up from it. And this whale, I was standing on this reef and a whale glided past and rolled over and looked at me. And I just remember it was a really powerful dream. And so when we got to Whale Song and we stood at the top of the end of the road, which overlooked the reef, it just hit me. And I just said, oh my God, this is the place of my dream. This is meant to be. And so from there we did make an offer, and it eventually was accepted. And
that must have been nerve-wracking waiting for that to come through.
Oh, it was really strange, because we looked at it, and we just said to the agent, look, we're really keen. So and we were meeting her again at lunchtime, and I said, if between now and lunchtime something happens, call us, because we're really keen, we'll make an offer. And when we met with her at lunchtime, she said, oh yeah, wow, no, that place, that's sold. And we said, what? We only just saw you. Anyway, we were really upset. So it was a really kind of a strange kind of process, because we were really upset, and we thought, oh, that's so strange, and we were a bit mad too.
Oh,
but then but anyway, then we slept on it, and Cliff was really sort of upset, and I said, look, it's just not meant to be, just forget about it, whatever's meant to be will be. And the next morning she rang and she said, oh, actually that sale fell through, so are you still interested? So So we were
Wow.
very lucky, and we just still pinch ourselves to this day. And every time we're at Whale Song, we just can't quite believe it. But we bought it the year before the pandemic started. So we had a year, we had about 9 months where it took to renovate it, but we were renovating remotely, I guess. So we live in Victoria, and we were able to get over to Tassie several times that year to facilitate the renovations. But yeah, it was a big process, and juggling that with, I think I did 2 shows that year with my painting. So it was a big year. It started with a sort of a view to, we're going to have to rent this out because we need to pay for it, but we want to use it for ourselves. So it's such a special space, and I'm really grateful that it's been recognised by so many guests that have stayed and they love it. So, yeah.
And it is being recognised. It has been featured in magazines and websites all over the world now, with a lot of fantastic people staying at the Shack and sharing their experience. We've got celebs and influencers and design heavyweights and just incredible people in the industry recognizing Whale Song. And it's because of that, that incredible vision it seems you had in mind for the space. I've been lucky enough to go into the property and spend some time there, and as you drop into nature, and the phone kind of goes out the window. You don't even know where it is most of the time, and you're just overwhelmed by how beautiful and part of nature it feels to be. That's very grounding. Did you have that end vision in mind for the renovation, and how did you go about styling this incredible place and making it so guest fantastic and guest ready?
Well, I guess I have to give all credit to Cliff on the amazing fire pit. Cliff is a incredible landscape. He sees, like, he's a graphic designer, but he is a amazing landscape designer as well. Like, his vision was the outside, but collaboratively we saw the amazing bone structure of the Shack, and we didn't want to take anything away from the Shack. We wanted to just enhance the features, like the sunken living room, just taking out I think we only have taken out 2 original window, like the original window where that beautiful view window with a view is now was just a bit small and broke up the view a bit. So Cliff designed that window, and the French doors going out was an old sliding door. So we sort of just enhanced the features of the Shack that just were begging to be opened up. But we really wanted to keep it as a Shack, but practical. Not practical, sorry, but beautiful. Like, I guess we wanted to just keep the footprint as it is. The original kitchen, I was really hoping we could work with that. But when we got in to sort of start renovating, we realised it was just too broken down, and the chipboard was swollen, and it needed to come out. So it did open, and we just needed to open up some spaces in there. And because I love art and pieces and just curios and just having things around, it was so lovely to sort of create a space and shelving system in the kitchen that could just be all about pieces that inspire me and others, like your beautiful ceramics, which, are forever on show. And so I guess for me, it was a space that was for us, our home away from home, which we were going to then share with other people. So there's thought in mind, but it is really an extension of us and our home and the way we live.
That must be what makes it so authentic, is it is that extension of what you love and how you live. What would be, I imagine that there are a lot of people listening who have thought of creating their own special place in the world, their own short stay, as both a creative extension and a business opportunity with long-term plans. What would be your advice to anybody looking to do that now?
Well, when we started our renovation, we were sort of in the thick of it, and I realised how special Whale Song was, and I really wanted to, on top of what we were doing to it, wanted to sort of, I guess, extend my knowledge of how to present Whale Song as a very special place. So I did the hosting masterclass with Sarah Andrews, and honestly, that was worth its weight in gold. I highly recommend that to anyone that's going to be taking on a type of property or any property to help it shine out in the marketplace, which is there's a lot of properties out there and there's a lot of beautiful properties out there. But I found that was just so helpful in just adding that incredibly extra special layer to Whale Song, which is on top of my vision for it as well. So I would highly recommend people take that course because it was great. And I think Whale Song would have always been special without it. But I also think that taking that hosting masterclass has really helped just shine a light on how special it is.
When did you come up with the name Whale Song? Was that your dream?
Well, I think my dream really played into that. And I just and we have the whales do go past Falmouth and Whale Song. To be honest, I actually haven't seen one yet go past. I've seen them on the coast before, but I've had guests stay and they've had whales out the front, and they've just loved it. They do come past, and it definitely was part of my dream. So I just felt that felt really authentic to me to share that. It just felt right. So,
these things tend to just reveal themselves sometimes, don't they? The right
that's
path.
It. Yeah.
What's your biggest challenge running that business? It is a full-time business
by
the looks of it.
I think just not being close to the property, but I do have an incredible housekeeper and her team are amazing. So they do keep everything, running smoothly. But it is hard not being close. I think that's probably the biggest challenge is just not being able to pop over there and sort of saying, can you send me a photo of that so I can just see how it's looking and make sure this is right? Yeah. So, I have there's a high expectation with what we deliver, and my housekeeper is incredible. But just sometimes, just having that distance can be frustrating.
And there's so much of your creativity, your connection to landscape that seems to be poured into both your art and into the shack as well. Do you ever feel creatively a bit stuck?
I think towards the end of last year, I got quite burnt out. I just felt I needed a break, and that's where I think with my art practice, like I was saying, I do need space to just sort of let my output settle in a sense. And I do, but I find I do, once I've had that time, I then am renewed with energy and it sort of comes back. So I guess that is a sort of a creative being stuck, I guess, but it's also perhaps a bit of burnout as well. That I need to sort of just re-energize myself. And so I do find being in nature and perhaps spending time at Whale Song and not thinking about, when we're there, I try and switch off. Like this summer, I just thought, I'm just switching off. You won't really hear from me. You might get a few stories here and there. And I do love sharing those beautiful moments, but it is also that side of things can take a lot of energy when you're just wanting to just switch off. And I think everybody towards the end of last year, I think with COVID and everything, everyone was probably switching off and just saying, I just want to just feel normal for a minute. But the funny thing is when I'm not at Whale Song and I'm at home, I actually love sharing the stories and posting these incredible images and experiences of Whale Song and sharing that with the community, because it's sort of almost my longing and dreaming. I work through that side of things. So I find that really enjoyable.
Tell me, as we sort of get towards the end of our chat, I would love to know two things from you. What has been the most exciting moment for Whale Song Shack and for your art practice?
I think for my art practice, I just have to go back to that first exhibition. It was just the most exciting time, and everything from there has just been the icing on the cake. Every exhibition is exciting. And then Whale Song, gosh, I think launching Whale Song was so exciting. From there, I feel like we've got some exciting things coming up, which is great. I think our first elopement at Whale Song was very exciting. Being featured in Country Style, that first feature was incredible. We have other features coming up which are really exciting, and I'm so excited for that. I think also just with Whale Song, it's the feedback and the reviews that I get. make my day. I absolutely just feel so grateful to share Whale Song with guests and creatives and artists. And that just makes me so happy when people get to experience it and feel that sort of sense of joy like I do. I'm thrilled.
From a social impact perspective, so social audience perspective, it has grown so quickly to huge numbers of people following Whale Song Shack, and just the awareness of the place and the account and everything has grown so quickly. Do you have any moments where it sort of feels like a runaway freight train, or what's been your tactic with that to get it to grow so far?
I do have, I've had a lot of influential people come through and share their incredible experience visually and on their own platforms with Whale Song. And it's all been organic. Like, I haven't done anything, outside the box. I haven't, it just has started very organically. It's very honest. We do have a lot of photographers, not a lot, but every year there's a selection of amazing creatives that come through. I think Diana, who you've just had on your podcast, she's a friend now, but just amazing photographer, and has shared her experience with Whale Song. And I guess also building a community, like collaborate with Kate from Wilderness Weddings, Beck Burrows. She's another elopement. They're our two partners that we work with when we're doing elopements. Both Kate and Beck are just I think when you collaborate with people, other creatives in Tasmania and out there, your story gets shared on a different level and through a different sort of view. There's also Naomi from Tasmanian Shack Life, and we've absolutely bonded over our passion for shacks, and just with Whale Song, keeping Whale Song as a shack, which I guess is a bit of a more luxurious traditional shack, but we haven't rebuilt any of the shack or done anything to bastardize the shack. Just sharing our loves of the shack has been, that's another collaboration, I guess, in that, Naomi shares so many amazing shacks and very authentic shacks, but just her offering of sharing that Tasmanian shack life through rental stays throughout Tassie is just amazing. So we're so honoured to be part of that. I think that it's just making connections with people and sharing the love, and people then sharing the love, and it just seems to have resonated with a lot of people. And
it really seems as though you have approached this project, this creation, with such authenticity, just the same way as you have your journey into becoming a full-time artist. And that translates, you share, you follow, you support other creatives in a really genuine manner. And I've seen that from day one since I started following Whale Song Shack. And I think that is the kind of energy that as creatives, if we can do a little more of, supporting and promoting each other, it comes back in ways that we can't imagine. And we can create the networks that not only support and lift ourselves up, but also, we can do that back, which gives a whole other kind of fabulous feeling. So I have experienced that following your page, and it's just a wonderful thing that you offer.
Yeah, I think I guess, when you're raising children, they say it takes a village. And I think it's a little bit the same. I think you find your people, and you actually find common ground with so many of these people. And therefore, it's just sharing the love, which is a beautiful thing.
It really is. I think for so many people going out into a journey, trying something new, particularly any type of creative practice, and short stays can fall into that. It is it's a creative business.
It is,
very much so. And maybe starting that journey, you might think, oh goodness, I don't have the skills or the knowledge or the network to bring this to life. But just by starting, that happens so quickly, and that network reveals itself in the most wonderfully surprising, authentic ways. I have friends now that I have made in the last couple of years through just trying in creative things and connecting with people that have absolutely blown me away. You think at this, as you get older, you think, oh, I'm never gonna make new friends, or you think that kind of new network won't happen. But God, it does, just happens.
It does. And I think also working from home and not being in an office, not having the Christmas party to go to, the office Christmas party, those sort of things, I think that, you sort of do create this very beautiful organic work hub that you draw upon in different parts for different aspects of your career and where you're going. And I think that's also when you are starting out and stepping away from that corporate sector, and you soon realise that, there's just so many ways to move forward without holding down a full-time job in a traditional sense, and stepping away from that is so liberating and exciting. And work, I have to keep reminding myself that when you are doing any Instagram posts, and this is my marketing time. So you sort of have to think about that and not sort of say, I don't know. It's just becomes a little bit more organic, and it's nice not to forget that you work hard in a very organic way, which is really nice. Yeah,
it is really nice. But yes, very, very different. It does take a little time to settle into it.
It does.
So,
yeah.
Very cool and a lot of fun.
Yes.
A little unusual some days.
Yes. Yeah.
And you do so much for, other creatives. You're offering so much to the world through your work. Is there anything that the listener and I can do to support you on your creative journey?
Oh, gosh. I guess you can have a look at my exhibition that's coming up at Curatorial & Co. Go and have a look at Whale Song. Always great to share Whale Song with new followers and listeners. So we're I guess that's two ways you can help. So
wonderful. And it really is such a help to have that support. So I'll make sure to put the links to Whale Song Shack in the show notes, the Instagram and the website, and also your personal website as well, where listeners can have a little sticky peek of your art and your personal Instagram in the notes too, so that the listener can go and support your amazing work, because you're doing wonderful things. And as I said in my intro, I just still feel like there's more to come, and that's a very exciting thing. So,
thanks so much.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for chatting with me today. It's been such a pleasure to learn about the journey of Ingrid, the artist, and also of Whale Song Shack.
Thank you so much, Kim. Oh my God.
Thank you for listening to Unemployed and Afraid, the stories of starting over with your host, me, Kim Curtin. If you liked the episode and are keen to hear more, please hit the follow button and leave a review. And let's keep the conversation going on Instagram at Unemployed and Afraid, where there's more goodies and links to today's show notes. See you there.